Hello, everyone. Diana Rankin here with your weekly message, soul message from Phillip. And I didn't think there was a part 3 to angels and spirit guides, but we have a part 3. And this is the very first week. In fact, it's New Year's Day today where I am, and I'm coming on a little bit early because it's sleeting outside and the trees are already getting that beautiful ice on them. However, that also means the electricity could go out because the electrical wires, the lines, often, if they get too much ice and overload, they go down. So hopefully this storm won't last all day and it'll perhaps turn to rain and even melt a little bit of the ice. We have snow and then ice, and it's crazy where I am here in the northern hemisphere. Up in Ohio, I know my friends down in Australia are probably thinking, oh, it's so great today. And it is. It's a beautiful day. It just happens to be a rather interesting weather-wise. So this is for the first week of January, the first full week, which is January the 3rd to the 9th, January 3rd to the 9th. The year is 2021. 2021. Isn't that exciting? So anyway, we are going to get our message from Phillip. And as I said, there's a little bit more on spirit guides that Phillip asked me to tell you about. And actually, I'm going to read a couple of pages from one of my books, The Found Child, because that has some good information on spirit guides and on a little bit on watchers. And we have so many beings taking care of us. But first, I did ask Phillip if there was anything he wanted to add to the message that we're going to read. And you might hear one of my kitties in the background there. She's playing with one of her toys. She's a Siamese, so she has that Siamese meow. So anyway, when I asked Phillip if there's anything other than about spirit guides from the book that we're going to read from that he wanted us to know, and he does. He's got this to say. For those who did not hear or grasp the warning in our last encounter, that's the January video. I made that on Wednesday. So the video of predictions for January, that is out. In fact, it's the opening video on my YouTube. So you can just go and look at that. And here's what he wants you to really pay attention to. We repeat our request that you stay near your homes. This is not to say you cannot venture away. We just suggest that for the next few weeks, you do not go too far from home. Perhaps keep your wanderings to only a few hours from home rather than multiple miles. Plane travel is not advised within this time frame. This shall all pass within a few weeks, and travel afar will be fine. If one must travel, we advise you to ask your guardian angels for protection and also ask your spirit guides for guidance. And when you ask your spirit guides for guidance, listen and heed that guidance. So what Phillip is telling us, it's probably not a good idea for air travel if you can avoid it. If you must, make sure that you ask your guardian angels for protection. And if your spirit guide says don't, listen, heed that warning. Please listen to it. This is not out of fear. Absolutely not out of fear. This is out of taking care of ourselves. If you need to drive a long distance, please pay attention to your spirit guide. If your guide tells you to pull over or to turn left instead of right, listen. How many times have you listened and perhaps been spared an accident? How many times have you not listened? Too often we don't listen. Okay, back to our part 3 of angels, guardian angels, and spirit guides. This is chapter 9 of The Found Child. And yes, all my books that are still in print are available on Amazon, or you can just go to my website and it'll take you either to Amazon or the publisher. Okay, the entourage, watchers, and prime spirit. Just to set this up for you, of those of you who are not familiar with the book, this is a woman, the main character. By the way, her name is Diana. Imagine that. The main character finds this very strange little boy at the end of her lane one day. And together they go through this trip into spirit world where they meet Philip, or Philip actually comes and takes them on the trip. So the main characters are Philip and the little boy Davy and our main character Diana. Okay, here we go. We enter a large windowless room lit brilliantly by the beings who inhabit it. They flitter and flicker quickly about, much like the fireflies and fairies on the land where I live. Instantly, I felt quite at home. Philip clapped his hands, and the flittering and flickering lights began to take on all sorts of sizes and shapes. Some even began to look human. This is your entourage, Philip said. These are all the beings you came together with before entering life. The team, or your committee, you gathered together, so to speak. They are your guides, teachers, protectors. They will appear to you in the form you find most acceptable, that of human beings. As you can see, their natural form is one of light, but they can take any form needed. If you were in a different dimension or a different universe, they would take the form of the beings there. I counted 8 beings. Davy's the 9th. I am the 10th, Philip said. I squeezed Davy's hand and then asked, does everyone have 10 beings on their committee? You actually have 11 members on your team, Philip said. You chose to enter Earth life on the 11th day of the 11th month. So 11 will be a prime number for you in this lifetime. You'll notice many things in your life revolve around the number 11. You might look at your own birthday and see what number many things in your life evolve around. Back to the book. Before I had a chance to think about what he was saying or ask him where the 11th member was, he continued, not everyone chooses the birth date for the number of beings in their entourage. Everyone is different. The soul chooses the number needed for their team. The number depends on what a soul wants to experience and how much help will be needed. In addition, the soul takes into consideration any being who requests to be on the team. In these cases, an audience is held with the soul and the team members already in place. If the team deems a being as helpful to both the soul entering Earth life and as a member of the entourage, that being is invited to join the team. Members of your team are here to help you in your development, but it is just as important that you are here to help them in their development. I'm going to repeat that. Keep in mind that members of your team are here to help you in your development, but it is just as important that you are here to help them in their development. That's how important you are. I'm the 11th member, I said suddenly, glimpsing my own importance and responsibility as a member of the team. Philip smiled. No words were needed. I was awed by the overwhelming love and acceptance I felt. I fell to my knees in gratitude, and they all followed suit by kneeling before me. Even Philip kneeled. Philip, I don't understand. We are a part of you as you are a part of us, he said. What you feel, we feel. We are as deeply grateful for you as you are for us. It is a symbiotic relationship. I looked around the room at the kindness in each face, at the strength I saw, and I knew we were indeed a team. I would never again feel alone. I stood and everyone followed suit. Oh, tell me more, I ask of Philip. You're the one who held your hand up and volunteered to enter into Earth life, he said with a wry smile. One by one, each came before me, offering words of encouragement, cheers of well done, or praises for the accomplishments. They appeared to me in human form. Some looked vaguely familiar. Philip explained that many of the team members had had life experiences on Earth, some of which we shared. These beings appeared before me as I would have known them. They had completed a round of earthly lives and had a grasp of what was needed while living on this planet. Philippe is of this category, Philip said, when a small dark man came before me. Philippe was with St. Francis of Assisi. He works with you and the animals. I've always felt someone near the animals, I said. Thank you so much for watching over them. It is I who thank you for caring for them, Philippe said, and I felt his sincerity. The next being who came before me needed no introduction. She had been my best friend until she died. And we embraced, and my tears flowed freely. Oh, no reason to cry, Diana, she said. I'm right here. I've always been right here. I felt your pain when I came into this dimension, but I could not soothe it. Now perhaps you will know that what we said was true. Oh, I nodded, unable at the moment to trust my voice, and continued. I know how deeply you grieved when your beloved fiance, Jeremy, died. Oh, the memory of Jeremy's name threw me momentarily. My mind had to race to catch up with Anne. We talked so much about signs from him. Remember our promise that if one of us died, we would send a message to the other? Well, I did my best. When Anne died, my grief had been too great for her nearness. And then time passed and life took over. Anne was one of your guides, even while in body, Philip said. She remains a guide in spirit form. We guided each other, Anne said. She taught me about human love. Oh, you were so hurt, I said. Your husband had just left you for another woman. You were beside yourself with grief. You helped heal my grief. Every time you reached out to love, you healed me. Oh, I laughed and cried at the same time. You pieced my heart back together a time or two, I said. Yet you continued to love, she said, even after Jeremy. Anne knew how my heart was torn away from me when I was so young. She knew I tried to love again. She had been alive with me, watching me trying to make a relationship work and patching my heart back together every time one failed. Philip broke into my thoughts. Anne is your creator guide. She helps you write and create that which you want in your life. Oh, Anne, you always did that, I said. We used to sit in restaurants or coffee shops for hours, nibbling or on dinner and so engrossed in our conversation about art and writing. I remember a poem I couldn't get right, couldn't get the ending. You told me to tear it up and start from the end and work backwards. And I loved the beginning of that poem, loved everything about it except the last line. But I listened to you, tore up the poem, and rewrote it from the outside in, so to speak. You were right. It was one of the best poems I ever wrote. It won an award, she reminded me. She took my hand between hers, and I felt her warmth. I must move on and allow you to meet your other guides. Oh, don't go, I begged. Oh, I'm never far away, she said. Only a thought from your heart brings me to you. Are you still painting? I asked as she moved away. Yes, she said, smiled, and then was gone back into the light. One of your paintings still hangs on my wall, I called after her, already missing her, but only for a moment. Philip quickly introduced me to the other members of the entourage, the scholar who guides me to needed information, the orator who helps me when I speak in front of others, the comforter who holds my heart and encourages me when I feel lost, the healer and strength giver who cares for my body and my spirit, the protector who watches over me and keeps me from harm, and the teacher who guides me to learn lessons and receive gifts I came to earth to learn and receive. I am the communicator, Philip said. I am the one who speaks to you so that you are able to hear the voices of all your guides as one. To hear each separately is possible, but not always desirable. Most practically, it is best to communicate directly with each one for specific information or advice in the guide's category. You might wish to speak to Philippe when directing energy toward animals, for example. For most other information, you communicate directly with me. Why is that? I asked. It avoids confusion, he said. Think about life within your world. If you walk into a room full of people and ask a question, what happens? No one knows if they should answer. Precisely. Either too many answers will come or no answer will come. Either way, the simple solution is to work with one communicator who speaks to all to receive the answers you seek. Well, that made sense to me, even more so when Philip explained further. There are other beings who also impart information through me for you. Some of these are around you all the time, such as your guardian angels. Others are angels and beings who come in for temporary assignments when called. I also have access to libraries and data from other universes, from other universes and other beings who are always ready to be of service when we ask. Of course, these beings can also communicate directly to you when necessary. Your angels were with you when your motorcycle went down. They protected you. Oh, I wasn't so sure I had been protected in the accident, but at the moment it didn't seem important. There was too much going on, too much to wrap my mind around. It's all so magnificent and so mind-boggling, I said. Yes, it's difficult for the human mind to fully comprehend the vastness and complexities of existence. Are there more? I asked. Yes, there are the Watchers. The Watchers are beings from other galaxies and universes in other dimensions, Philip said. They are emissaries of Prime Spirit or Prime Source or God, if you prefer. The Watchers observe all of us, guiding us that we may best guide you in the work you do on earth and helping you have the life experiences you chose. Their main concern is that you accomplish that which you came to earth to do in the first place. I wanted to ask Philip what I had come to earth to do, but Davy pulled at my arm. Look! A doorway that spanned from floor to ceiling opened, and we stood in the midst of the most magnificent night sky. At least that's what I thought it was. I imagined it was like standing in the middle of the Milky Way. Millions and millions and millions of lights of varying sizes moved around us. Some floated, others whizzed, some even seemed to be standing still. They didn't seem to form any sort of pattern until I looked at my own body. It too was made up of these dots of lights flashing about within the confines of the image of my physical body. I could make out my arms and even individual fingers, but nothing was solid. Instead, my body was a group of different sized lights, all fairly small, moving in rhythm at the same speed. With a single thought, my right arm lifted, and the most magnificent rainbow of colors swept across my vision as I waved my arm. I reached out to grab a star, and my hand lit up brighter and then dimmed a bit when I opened my hand. Davy giggled. He leapt upward, and a sprinkle of stars fell from his feet. I did the same, not knowing how high I could go and not caring if I ever came down. Philip did, though. He reached out to both Davy and me and held us by our hands and then leapt about with us. There are dangers you are unaware of and no need to learn of, he said. You can get lost. No, we can't, Davy said. We have you. Yes, and I'm going to hold on to you very tightly, Philip said. But his eyes sparkled with merriment, and I knew he wouldn't hold any tighter than necessary. Good guide that he was. Oh, I could have stayed there in that heavenly night sky forever. But our journey was not yet over. There was more to experience. So I hope that gives you a little more information on spirit guides and how many more are watching over us and helping us as we also help them. We are going to get our message from Phillip. This is just an oracle book, and we just opened any page, and there's our message. So we're going to get that message, but I want to say hello, Christy. And Christy says, Happy New Year, everyone. Happy New Year. Yes, we have a brand new year, 2021, and that comes up to the number in numerology 5, which is the number of freedom and new beginnings. So here we are, new beginnings and freedom. Please heed the warning that we gave you from Phillip, that we gave you at the middle or at the beginning of this particular video, and at the I think it's in around the middle of January's predictions. Hello, Happy New Year from Wendy. Thank you, Wendy. I'm looking at your name and I'm thinking, I know that name, but it's Wendy, so thank you. And so welcome all of you who are listening to this with us. And here is, Christy says, here's to new beginnings. Absolutely. Here's to new beginnings. I will raise my tea mug to that. All right. Let's just flip through and see where our finger stops. And I'm hearing, I'm hearing left, but also right. I always read both sides of the pages. If you heard left, that's our major soul message here. If you heard right, that is a message for you. And I hear from so many of you that tell me, I heard the opposite of what you said. So I heard right when you said left, and boy, that message was meant for me. So I read both sides. So here's our message for everyone. Without a receiver, there is no giver. Without a receiver, there is no giver. And that's page 316 of the book. The right side. So without a receiver, there is no giver. So keep in mind that we are to receive graciously when someone wants to give us something, whether it's a compliment or a gift. And sometimes for many of us, that's difficult. And, like I was taught as a girl to say, oh, you shouldn't have. Well, that's without a receiver, there is no giver. So I always say, as you breathe in, you receive. As you breathe out, you give. If you're constantly breathing out, guess what? And this is the time that we have an opportunity, so many opportunities to give. But we also have to be able to receive. Here's what is on the right side. Excuse me. Others interact with you from the level in which they express life. If you live on a different level, will you not then interact from a different perspective? Well, I think that pretty much goes along with our message today when we're talking about the part 3 of angels and spirit guides. Our team, we chose and they chose us. So we're interacting from the level that we've grown to. And others in our world are on a different level. So they're going to act whether above us or below us. And I hate to put it as a hierarchy, but for sake of understanding, I'll put it as a hierarchy. For those interacting above us or below us, their perspective is different until we all come together and interact from the highest perspective. So I repeat that. Others interact with you from the level in which they express life. If you live on a different level, will you not then interact from a different perspective? And remember, my friends, without a receiver, there is no giver. So I thank you for receiving the love from my home to your home, from me personally to you, from all of us here, four-legged and two-legged ones. We thank you for being with us today. The wind outside my home has picked up. Hey, hello, Elijah. Thank you. I have to look at the bigger screen to see the names because the smaller screen is a little bit out there. Beautiful, Christy. Thank you. I appreciate it. And Elijah says, Happy New Year to everyone. Thank you all for being with me today online. For those of you who could not join us but are seeing this video uh, later. Hopefully, I'll still have electricity. The ice is coming down pretty strongly now. I don't know if you heard it on the roof or not. I can hear it. So I'm going to say goodbye, and hopefully we'll still have electricity all day and all night, and all of you the same. For those who are without electricity, for those who are without homes, let us all say a prayer for them. Let us all just hold them in our hearts. And for those of us who can, remember our homeless shelters who feed and house the homeless, and give what you can. Thank you, my friends. I love you. Thank you, Christy. Thank you. Goodbye for now. Now I have to get the mouse over here and go click on end stream.